Hello Eternum and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, and this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as the forces of Dogged Down maintain an outer Charlie hold for over 20 minutes. KOTT News were in Moon Bay as the company were submitting VODs and spoke with members of the squad. Congratulations on your victory out here in Restless Shore. I'm sure you're quite exhausted after 25 minutes out there on Charlie for the outside hold, but you managed to maintain your foothold here in Moon Bay, the last remaining Marauder faction. How do you feel about it?
It was great. It was great. A lot of improvement from them, forwarding us to getting 1 point held outside. But it is what it is. We reviewed VODs, a lot of new people. Worked out, I guess.
Well, you certainly did tighten up the defense, that's for sure. Was there anybody out there who really stepped up their game in the last, the difference between then and now?
I'd have to say, I guess our outside sectors, they really, space more than they usually do. It was nice, but other than that, I don't know.
That's the guy right there, lurking up on top.
Alright, you think so, Reformed, right up there up on top?
Love song, man. That's Chack and Biz, chicken.
The goat.
Love song, love song.
Yeah.
Hey, rag song.
Give us a wave, love song.
Yeah, cause
Oh, we're getting love song boardwalk. Hey, congratulations! A lot of people saying that you outperformed yourself tonight. How do you feel you did personally?
I was basically shot calling for a 15-man Oppo squad, which was a lot of fun. But we came out with a new raid plan this time. Last time we 10-10, this time we 5-15, and had more defense on our bottom left, while we were just winning Oppo, so our heroes had space to play for free. But we executed it really well. Shout out Group 7. They've never done that role before, that frontlining for Dex as main ball role, and they played out of their minds. They had infinite healer pressure. It made it really easy for us.
Looking at the weather for this afternoon, and it's going to be a pleasant day for Rafflebones interviews, as long as he doesn't blow up. But after sundown, things start looking a little more recognizable as the corruption invasion forces strike at 10% of the island. Another submission for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Tonight, the Marauders of EP Town attack the Covenant hero worshippers of Outcasts for control of the bamboo forest preserves of Ebonscale Reach. The not-so-newcomers of EP Town fly a familiar banner as the expected restructuring of the loosely organized brawlers regroup and seek out a new place to call home. But the Outcasts have been restructuring a little as well, with many fresh faces believing this is but the first of 4 fights before they prove their dominance and retire from combat. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello Eternum and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, and this is the War Report. Breaking news in Eternum this morning as community members flock to the recent new arrival in town, the Stylemancer. Some members of the community have been waiting since day 1 swimming ashore for the ability to pick and choose what they look like. Once you have acquired a transmog token, the process for unlocking a cosmetic look is straightforward and simple. Citizens have already begun clamoring for a transmog fashion show. Stay tuned for more on that story as it develops. Turning to the deserts of Brimstone, and Snobberino Pepperinos have released an informative safety video for anyone interested in learning worm raid techniques. KOTT News highly encourages anyone who hasn't seen it to check it out in the description or cards for an entertaining boss strategy guide. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as the Outcasts convene their coven and kick out the would-be conquerors of EP Town. KOTT News caught up with one of the participants who were headed to the hot springs to freshen up. Congratulations on your victory, man. That's a great job.
Oh yeah, brother.
Well, what do you think about your fight tonight?
Pretty much, bro, anybody that rotated into the top right of point got farmed by me and my group, you feel me? So, we did our job, and we're, the best to ever do it. So, Outcast Bis.
That's true. Were they able to get inside for tonight? I was a little late to the party, if I'm being honest.
No, they got 1 point held, which is kind of sad for them, but it is what it is, you know?
Indeed, they are restructuring after this last week's discovery that Gorilla Town is taking a break. So EP Town, we'll see if how they do in the next endeavor. Was there anybody on your team who outperformed themselves tonight?
I mean, Cammy, Bis Healer, Playboy Raw, Bis Melee, literally everybody in Group 3.
KOTT then traveled to Everfall to check on the Invasion Response Squad, who were all receiving fair compensation for helping to maintain the hamlet. Thinking of volunteering your time? Invasion Response Squad liaisons stand by to show you the ropes, especially tonight.
It's gonna suck. Please, for the love of God, sign up. We'll have fun. There will be shenanigans.
Afterwards, entertainment was provided by an up-and-coming new band in Eternum calling themselves the Midnight Raiders. No word yet on any tour dates, but local fans are looking forward to the possibility. Turning to the weather for today, and it's looking like another day of sun up, sun over, sun down for all you anti-Rafflebone incursionists out there. And for all you anti-corruption invasionists out there, be on the lookout for another 40% chance to volunteer later on tonight. One more lineup submitted for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. With special thanks to the Craft Services crew. If you'd like to support KOTT News, Patreon is currently the best way. Tonight, the Syndicate members of Fresh Bench attack the Covenant converts of OPR Esports for control of the bear-infested northern forest of Brightwood. Despite being rebuked whilst executing their right to rematch before, Fresh Bench return again to reclaim the woods in the name of the Syndicate. But OPR Esports have been getting a lot of reps in lately and believe their improvements have outpaced their adversary. So stand by at the Keep to defend their regional holding. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the Syndicate members of Fresh Bench re-secure the bear-infested forests of Brightwood. The fight was over quickly as the participants seemed anxious to get back to transmogging themselves. But not OPR Esports, who began running it back a little later on. And smelling a story, KOTT News followed. What ensued was a battle between Outcasts, PK Warband, and emotional damage that lasted for hours, as each factional company vied for control of the keep. KOTT News crews had to take cover repeatedly to avoid the conflict around the fort. But you know how we love to bring you the action, so tune in tonight at 11 for the full report. A full hold by the entirely volunteer Invasion Response Squad last night, as all hands responded well to the calls for action in defense of the hamlets. Returning to our ongoing investigation into the mysterious cult of egg worshippers, KOTT News crews discovered a new egg chamber deep in the deserts of Brimstone. But we weren't the only ones investigating, as a couple of guys who were up to no good started making trouble. Needless to say, they were quickly dispatched, and afterwards, we spoke with one of the cult members about the incident.
I guess this means we're being followed. We may have to come up with a new plan.
KOTT News will bring you more on this story as it develops. Turning to the weather for today, and it looks like the sun will complete another journey across the Eternum sky, reminding us that the grind never stops. But at least tonight's action will be slightly less dramatic as calls for corruption invasion assistance go out across 20% of the island. No submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by everyone playing Dress Up. But we'll have any late-breaking outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. The sun rises on another day, and fashion disputes continue to be discussed at length around Eternum. KOTT news crews spent the better part of last night performing a spontaneous quick drip session, setting the baseline scores and settling disputes around balancing Hamlet fashion with New World theme. No bites, nobody knows the rules, Frankie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike style. Impromptu scores were issued pending future consideration. Returning to the ongoing Rafflebones invasion portal situation, popping up across Eternum, KOTT news crews continue to press the raving lunatic for information about how he utilizes this portal technology and why. Unfortunately, Rafflebones remains adamant in his stance of no comment. KOTT News will bring you more on this story as it develops. Looking at the weather for today, and it's going to be a gentle afternoon for everyone to get dressed up for. But later on tonight, volunteers that want stations to remain upgraded should be alert for a moderate chance of corruption invasion. Another submission for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPCO. Remember, if it isn't LARPCO, it is cardboard. With special thanks to the Craft Services crew. If you'd like to support KOTT News, Patreon is currently the best way. Tonight, the syndicate members of Fresh Bench assail the marauders of Dogged Down for control of the hardly controllable Restless Shore. Fresh Bench return to the Mudhill to begin their climb anew, attempting to reclaim the region that they have held multiple times before. Dogged Down, becoming accustomed to the anarchy of the archipelago, fighting for the 4th time in 10 days. Look forward to testing out their mud legs again tonight. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the syndicate members of Fresh Bench removed the marauders from the island in Restless Shore. 2 corruption invasion breaches in the final minutes last night. Relief efforts in both regions have already begun overnight. Quick drips all night last night between the conflicts as the citizens continue to grind up their drip score. And the Druids of the Covenant have received word from their avian companions that Rafflebone portals continue to emanate from inside Old First Light. Returning to our top story, KOTT News were on the scene in Moon Bay and spoke with a participant about their victory. Congratulations on your victory here in Restless Shore. I was preoccupied in Cutlass Keys, unfortunately losing to the invasion forces in the final minutes, but tell us about your victory here. Any outstanding moment you'd like to tell us about?
Listen, man, it was a great war, but listen, we came out fighting, and as long as you fight like a demon, bark like a dog, you win. It's easy. That easy.
So once again, reclaiming the Eastern Restless Shore, a great house in standing, such that you are. You are also responsible for removing the marauders from the map, albeit temporarily, I presume. How do you feel about that accomplishment?
You know, I'm not going to lie, I do feel pretty sad about that. I merked for them. They're a great group of guys, but we haven't warred against them in a long time, or maybe we just haven't ever warred against them. I really don't remember. But, yeah, I kind of feel bad about that, but we just wanted a good war, and it was a great war. They did a great job. I think we just did a little better. I don't know.
Unaware of what was going on in Brightwood, KOTT news crews were fighting the good fight with 35 other volunteers last night in Cutlass Keys. Never before had I experienced running out of repair parts, but in the end, all that mattered was that the corrupted were able to breach. In lighter news, KOTT news crews were able to provide a quick drip score to another citizen last night, as we continue to work out the scoring criteria. I like it. It's got the 3-tone color, the silver, the muted gray / flat silver, as some might call it, and then those blues with a nice fade on the blues, like the blues were airbrushed, you know? So looking at it as I would a Mini, airbrushing the blues on a white undercoating, airbrushing the blues. Then come in with those gray tones and then highlight with the silver. And then there's some extra gilding there in the necklace. He's got the emote going on. Oh, the staff's got some nice gilding on it. Blunderbuss, you know, it's got the features on it, but it's lacking a little bit of color. But then again, it's kind of muted like his gloves and boots are. So that's kind of pulling it together there. So, yeah, and he's got the drooping wizard's hat, you know, not to be confused with the sorting cap look. And what down around his belt, he's got some vials over there, you know, in a traveling pouch. It looks like a kind of medium kind of chest plate kind of thing over the top of his cloth shirt there, but you know, looks good. Looks good. Let's see here. Definitely better than a minion. Let's go ahead and give him the score. I'm thinking that that's a 7.8. I think that's a 7.8, my man. Turning to the weather for today, and it should be a pleasant day for mission boards for those seeking to help with repairs. But for those of you who want to prevent more damage from happening, be on the lookout for another 20% chance of corruption invasion later tonight. Another submission for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Tonight, the Marauders of Emotional Damage assail the Covenant hero worshippers of Outcasts for control of the crocodile marshes of Cutlass Keys. Emotional Damage with the heavy responsibility on their shoulders tonight, fighting to take back the mosh pit and give the Marauders a home again. But the Outcasts aren't going to just let them take it. Mindful of their ever-improving opposition, they'll bring what they need to prevent the fort phase. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as the forces of Outcasts keep out the Marauders of Emotional Damage. KOTT News were in Spyglass Ridge and spoke with one of the winners about the fight. Congratulations on your victory here in Cutlass Keys, fending off those forces as if that was nothing to take care of at all. Would you care to take us through any of the moments in there you thought were pivotal?
Yeah, like, it was just straight up farm, like, no sweat broken, just came out here, did the work, easy as hell, and now I'm going to go do something else.
You already got something else lined up, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, in a fights like that, there's usually not anybody to highlight, but was anybody out there outperforming themselves by chance?
Uchiha is the greatest player ever to do it, ever. He was in my group, and he gave me all my kills single-handedly and my other bow. Like, he just gives kills like he's a soldier, and he helps other people, like, look better, and he's just GOAT.
While in Spyglass Ridge, KOTT News crews got footage of a new series we're working on called Quick Drip. Here's a preview of that upcoming content. One look, nobody knows the rules. We see them all till we see them all. Ricky, Bobby, Frankie, and Mike style. At a glance, I like it. Let me get in close here. I'm going to turn off my UI and get in close. Let's see here. It's got the banding across it. Now that feels like it's a lot of brimstone sand stuff. And you gave it 4 different colors? Right? I remember it being more golded than that. It looks like you've done some dye work on it. I like the staff. Keeping the whole theme together. It's clean. Let me see that gauntlet. Get a closer look at that. Yeah, that looks pretty good. It's cool. It's got that Eye of Anubis thing going on the glove, right? Is that also part of the desert set there? The boots matching up well. Yep, I like it. I like the Mask of Osiris, I think, if I'm saying that right. That looks cool. I'm digging it. Of course, Fire Staff Union bonus points. You know. All right. 8.3. That's a good outfit. It looks good. It's thematic. It's all complete. It works well with itself. It's, you know, it's not a piecemeal out of the place thing. You know, it looks good. There you go. Oh, thank you. Turning to the weather for today, and after another beautiful day of sunshine all afternoon long, please be alert for opportunities to assist against corruption invasion forces across 40% of the island. 2 more submissions for simulated fantasy combat resolution tonight. Brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Tonight, the Marauders of HBM attack the syndicate members of Fresh Bench for control of the northern forests of Brightwood. As the Marauders of the island remain scattered in disarray, HBM takes the lead and rounds up a new group of combatants, motivating them for the assault. Unfamiliar with the newcomers, Fresh Bench prepare a basic defense strategy, capable of controlling the outer objectives, but ready to fall back and defend the fort. Then, the Marauders of Dog Down assault the Covenant converts of Hideout for control of the rain-drenched mountain region of Morningdale. Dog Down track up after being deposed and without a place to regroup, except at the assault camp by the keep, where they've begun plotting their victory. But Hideout have prepared for any amphibious assault that may take place down by the river, and are standing by to repel this rowdy group of ransackers. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. Dynamic change in the history of Eternum last night as the forces of Dog Down returned to prominence in the northeastern corner of the island. An unfortunate breach in the final moments of Windsward, more on that later, and massive open-world PvP around Corbinic Castle and Monarch's Bluff. But first, KOTT news crews caught up with Dog Down leadership to discuss their fight and the next steps. Congratulations on your victory, my friend. Was it a hard-fought win for you tonight?
It felt steady. A few points felt pretty hard. A couple times it felt like it was going to be easy. Look, we almost took Fort out the first push in. They did a good job of delaying their crash and wiping us. So we just hit a little reset and got on the second push.
Well, excellent. Congratulations on your efforts here tonight. Now that you have resettled into Great House status, are you going to be accumulating the other loose marauders on the island?
You know, we got to see what we're working with in here. It's been a while since we've owned this place. Here, it's been run amok. Little inventory check, if you would.
You got it. Well, you want us to help you out by doing any mission boards this week?
We could use all the help we can get. I couldn't tell you what missions we're going to be running for, or what projects we're going to be starting, because I'm probably just going to log out and not be back on till the next war.
Well, one last question then before I let you log for the night. Thank you very much for your time. Was there anybody out there who outperformed themselves?
You know, our shot caller just really had the passion in it tonight. Apples is just best in slot, man. Guy carries. Something about when you hear that man with that raspy-ass scream just really gets you going.
Breaking news on the Western Monarch's Bluff. Dubbed the Fashion Frolic, open world PvP erupts over catwalk use at Corbinic Castle. Fashionistas from all factions battled for hours at the venue event space as Eternum's creative specialists vied for dominance. KOTT news crews were able to get some close-up shots thanks to their high-quality, patent-pending LARPco brand rifle-shaped camera. The back and forth raged for hours as KOTT news covered the conflict, before one voice began to be heard above the chaos. By night's end, a peace was brokered and all parties involved agreed to share the runway leading to the castle. KOTT News spoke with the Arbiter for Peace to see what their next move is. Hey man, congratulations, great event. I heard there was PvP out here, so I came sniffing around to see what it might be. Would care to tell us what's going on? What are you developing out here?
John, New World has been in a drought for the last 2 years. This is what everybody was dreaming and hoped for, and I'm just starting the revolution for a new time for a new world, where open world PvP and events gather the community together to fight and brawl for the glory. That's what I started today. This is just the beginning. So much more to come.
While on the bluff, KOTT news crews gave out quick drip scores to several drips. Tune in for more at 11. Returning to our coverage of last night's breach, it would appear that the corruption forces are indeed infused with spice. Or perhaps the madness leaking from the portals of the deranged madman Rafflebones has had some impact on the environment. In either event, the unusually empowered corruption forces were eventually able to breach and take out the tower in the final minute. Citizens wishing to assist with relief efforts should check the Corinth mission boards for assigned tasks. Looking at the weather for today, and it's going to be pretty relaxing, all things considered. But be mindful of a slight chance of invasion again tonight across 20% of the island. 3 lineup submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPCO. Remember, if it isn't LARPCO, it's cardboard, with special thanks to the craft services crew. If you'd like to support KOTT News, Patreon is currently the best way. First up, the Covenant Converts of Hideout assail the Syndicate members of Fresh Bench for control of the barely controllable Restless Shore. Getting geared up for a doubleheader tonight, Hideout forces put their offensive efforts foremost, seeking to put their all into expanding their empire. Fresh Bench forces, well rested for the fight after defending Brightwood last night, will showcase their prowess once more in defense of the Mudhill. Then, the Marauders of EP Town assault the Covenant Converts of Hideout for control of the island's primary oil reserves of Weaver's Fen. EP Town resurface after their first attempt at conquest 1 week ago, this time setting their sights on a possibly exhausted group of hideouts. But with nothing to lose in the first fight, their spirits will still be high regardless of the outcome, and will show up to defend, feeling very strongly about doing so. Meanwhile, the Marauders of Emotional Damage challenge the Syndicate members of JDB's Kitchen for their championship title and the right to rule over Everfall. This scrappy group of loosely organized conquerors step up and take a shot at the heavyweight championship belt. They've taken JDB holdings before, but can they do so again? JDB forces warming themselves up for the opportunity to fight, recalling that they were denied their right to rematch before, may take out their frustrations tonight in defense of the heavyweight title. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News.